Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations: Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org. Edina Eye Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years now in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services and dedicated specialists committed to excellence, with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns. Alan Miller with you. And we have return, I won't say guests because they're first-time guests, but the return of Theater in the Round, as we have done every season for the last half dozen years or so, sort of advising you, the public, as to what's coming up at exciting Theater in the Round, which is the oldest legitimate theater in Minneapolis, entering its 71st year. And I want to welcome Larissa Nederland, who is the managing director, and Carrie Steinbach, who is the director of the first theater show this season, Doubt, and we'll talk about that. So Larissa, what what does the managing director do?
Well, I keep the place running on a lot of ways. We have a great staff that everyone does their part. We're a small staff for the amount of shows we put on, but I do a lot with fundraising and liaising with the board, helping to manage a lot of our volunteers more on the organizational side. So we have different committees in the board that handle all the organizational things and also a lot of the financial management.
And it's pretty much a volunteer operation in terms of, well, it always was in terms of the performers. I don't know if it still is, but I think it is.
Yeah, it still is. We still have all of our performers are volunteer. We are a community theater, so our mission is to provide inclusive arena theater experiences and provide as many opportunities as we can for Minnesotans to engage and create theater. So we have make all those opportunities for people who they might have day jobs, they might just be starting out in theater, might just be curious, but to have the opportunity to audition and get cast or learn more and get on stage and also do a bunch of stuff backstage.
And Carrie Steinbach, you have directed theater for a number of years.
Yes, throughout the Twin Cities, different theaters as well as Theater in the Round for a number of years.
And this is not your first Theater in the Round experience either, is it?
No, I think I've done about half dozen shows there. A little interruption during the pandemic, but I'm very happy to be back again this season.
Now you're with a John Patrick Shanley show, Doubt, which was a well-known motion picture. It was on Broadway. It's a great show. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us how you picked your actors for it and the process that you went through.
Well, Shanley's show, Doubt, a parable, is the full title, takes place in a Catholic school in the Bronx in 1964. And the conflict that arises is between a sister at the school, the principal of the Catholic school, and one of the priests who she believes has interfered with one of the students at the school. She is certain of it, but has no proof whatsoever.
Interfered in what respect?
Sexual abuse, yeah, it's hinted at,
Certainly
never.
relevant today.
Yes, absolutely. But while, the production has that as part of its focus of the story, the focus isn't on sexual abuse within the church setting. It's really about doubt and uncertainty and the discomfort we feel when we are faced with doubts in our lives. And the title, A Parable, puts you in that position of, we've got this little story that we're telling, but what we want to take away from it is a lesson, a moral, a question about doubt.
And I think we all felt that watching it, and I've seen it both on Broadway and in the movies. And I think we all came away with doubt, except maybe for the head sister, at least until the very end. But so you have a job of selecting a cast. How do you go about it?
Well, auditions are held. The director can decide if he or she would prefer to have people come prepared with an audition piece or just have them read from the script. Sometimes I think having prepared pieces can be intimidating for actors, so I often will choose to have them read from the script, which just means they can show up that day. It provides perhaps more of an opening for those who haven't acted before and may be nervous about auditioning. I take a look at who comes to me, and hopefully I've got some really good, hard choices to make because there's some really good talent out there. And yeah.
So is it an evening's work or is it several evenings' work?
Generally I do a couple of evenings and then kind of pare it down to a night of callbacks where I've just got a handful of people for each role that I want to take another look at before I make my final decisions.
It's a very, let's say, anxiety-provoking experience. I did that for a Coen Brothers movie in which I showed up and there were all these people with portfolios and pictures and etc. I had nothing. They were looking for, and this is, I guess, A Simple Plan was the name of it, I think. They were looking for somebody to play a rabbi, and I said, well, I'm perfect for that. And so there were about 20 of us who went through, and to my surprise, they limited it down to 4 people for callbacks, and I was one of the 4, and then they sent it out to Hollywood, and I was not one of the 4. I lost to a rabbi.
Typecasting.
So who do we have experience-wise in doubt?
Well, our sister Aloysius has been gracing stages all over the Twin Cities for many, many years, and brings a lot of experience to her role. Miriam Monash. And Corey Bowe is playing Father Flynn. I worked with him last season on Marjorie Prime, one of the productions last season.
That's the young priest?
That's the priest,
yes.
Correct. And then Kelly Solberg is playing a young sister in the church. And she is new to TRP and new to me as well. And Marshanda Austin is playing the mother of the young student in question. And she is also new to me and new to Theater in the Round.
And you've been rehearsing for how long?
We've been rehearsing for about 4 weeks now. with 2 weeks until our opening night, 2 weeks from tonight.
We should mention that the show opens on the 23rd of September. And for those of you who are watching, no matter where you are, Theater and Around is 612-333-3010, and you can call the box office and get reservations, and they have a new system on. I like tickets in my hand, but everything has gone digital, so you don't do that anymore. But they have several ways for you to reserve your tickets, get your tickets, and really enjoy the performance. 2 acts?
It is about an hour and a half, no intermission.
No intermission.
Yeah.
It's the kind of a show that really
is
goes with no intermission because it is tense.
It is compact and dense, and I saw a touring production of it with the original actress Cherry Jones in town many years ago, and it starts, and before you know it, it's done, and yeah, so it really pulls you in.
Intense.
Yes,
intense is
very
the word.
intense.
Yeah. Now, we have 6 shows coming up this year, which I'm not sure, post-pandemic, I guess we're down to 6. It used to be 8, I think.
Yeah.
But we're down to 6. We always have an Agatha Christie.
Yes, that has been a tradition for the past, I think that this will be the 12th season in a row that there's been an Agatha Christie in the season, so we're excited about that. We're especially excited about this one because it's going to be a world premiere of a new adaptation of Agatha Christie's very first novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles. So it's a brand new adaptation by a young writer from Seattle, and this was her pandemic project to adapt this this novel that was newly in the public domain, so it was a good one to work on.
Now, Agatha Christie is always a sellout at Theater and Around, at least in my experience over the years, and it's a lot of years, but the 12 years that you've been doing this, that one sells out. And of course, when I say sell out at Theater and Around, we have how many seats? 340 or something?
240.
240.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll talk about that physical aspect of it. And that plays from November 18th to December 18th. And I should say that Doubt runs from September 23 to the 16th of October.
Correct.
So there's a lot of work that goes into a very short period of time with these volunteer
Yes.
actors and actresses. After Agatha Christie, the book club play.
Yeah, that's a fairly new script by Karen Zakaris, who she also has a script that's the Guthries doing this season, so I thought that was a nice tie-in. But it's a really fun little comedy about a book club that is actually the subject of a documentary film. So there's cameras set up, and this book club is meeting, and they're going to be in this documentary about what it means to be in a book club. But then as the cameras are running, everyone's true feelings about each other start to come out, and new revelations are made. It's a really sweet little comedy. It's really fun. It'd be great for people to come with their book club. I think they'll have a great time.
Well, we have a theater club, but maybe we can get our theater group.
Absolutely.
January 27th to February 19th of 2023.
Yep.
Then we go to a Shakespeare adaptation.
It's a Greek
A
myth
Greek
adaptation, Eurydice. It's by the adaptation.
I'm glad you pronounced it.
Yep, Eurydice by Sarah Rule. It's a contemporary retelling of a Greek myth about Eurydice, who dies on her wedding day. She was married to Orpheus, and then she goes to the underworld and has to remember her love from there. It's a really beautiful retelling. It's very visual. We have a wonderful director, David Hansel, who is going to just take a really beautiful, visual, poetic look at this really timeless love story.
Now, Theater in the Round is just what it sounds like. It's theater in the round. Mm-hmm. We have I thought there were 340 seats, but there's 240 seats, and they circle a small stage. It's amazing what gets into that small stage, and we'll talk about that. So you start rehearsing for it, which was back when?
Right after Labor Day. Is that right? No.
Right before.
Right before Labor Day. So yes, and usually we take about 6 weeks. A normal production would have about a 6-week production period. And Theater in the Round has a dedicated rehearsal space right within the building that mimics the stage.
When you're in Theater in the Round, you look up and you know, as a matter of fact, in my novel, which just came out, which talks about the Supreme Court, they have a basketball court at the Supreme Court on the 5th floor, and they call it the highest court in the land. And Theater in the Round reminds me of that because you have a stage exact proportions to the stage there, directly above the stage.
That's right.
So that's where you rehearse.
Yes, it's a luxury, really, for a director to be able to have a space that is nearly identical to the space they'll be working on. And that is one of the greatest things about working at Theater in the Round, is you've just got that dedicated space that is just like the space that you'll eventually be performing in.
So it's the first night of rehearsals. What do we do the first night?
Well, generally, there's lots of introductions and a read-through, but if we're talking about the first night of actual rehearsals, we'd start with what's called blocking and just trying to figure out the movement within the space, which is always a big challenge when you're working in an arena setting, because obviously anytime you've got someone facing audience on this side, their back is facing someone on this side. So you've always got to be conscious about how you move people around so nobody gets the back for too long.
And that's part of the director's burden.
Correct.
Right. But you said meeting people the first time out. These actors don't necessarily know each other before this starts.
No, and this cast, none of them had ever worked together before. So it was lots and lots of introductions, and as well as my production staff who was there to hear the read-through and talk about their concepts for the set, for costumes, for props and sound and lights. And so, yeah, lots of introductions that way.
And then after that first read-through, how do we segment the rehearsals from there on out?
Well, as I said, blocking takes several weeks probably to figure out, you know, what that movement and those traffic patterns look like. And then we need to start getting off book or memorized, and actors, you know, we continue to refine that movement and the motivation for each of the characters, and the pacing that's required, and the kind of the highs and lows, and where the conflict needs to be punched, and all of those kinds of actory questions.
That's where the director steps in.
Sure, yeah.
And we talked about production staff. There is a large production staff at Theater in the Round. We have people who make the sets. An incredible job also in this small space for some of the sets that I've seen. We also have costuming that's available. As a matter of fact, there are a ton of, I've been up there, and there are a ton of costumes. If I want to come back as, you know, in armor in the Middle Ages, you can do it. It's amazing to me what is available to you there. And what else do you have
Yeah.
hidden away upstairs?
Oh, we have so much storage. We have a large prop room in our basement that just has any kind of prop you could have. So from books and pens to vases and lamps and antique transistor radios and other things that get used in different productions. We just kind of collect it and it gets used over and over again. Sometimes we'll rent out from other places if there's something really specific that we need, or our designers will even create things, make things if we don't have it. On staff we have a technical director who oversees all of the technical sides of things and builds and paints and all of that. And often if there's a specific piece of furniture that a designer wants, she'll just build it, which is fantastic to me.
Now, we have all of that. These people are on staff. Those are paid staff.
We have one paid technical director, and then we have our designers get a small stipend, but they're largely volunteer. We basically pay them for their gas to come out and give their talents, but they're volunteering their time to design the costumes, to design the props and the sets. And then our technical director and then our costume supervisor help make those things come to life through building and making.
And these are
and
people
filling.
who have professional jobs in the theater world elsewhere, as well as some of the actors also. It's amazing how professional it all comes together. And obviously you've been doing it for 71 years, but to iron the kinks out.
Yes.
But it really is, the productions are as good as productions anywhere. As a matter of fact, a lot of the people who you see there have some affiliation with the Guthrie or have appeared in the Guthrie, yourselves as well, possibly.
We are very lucky that so many of the designers who've been around theater for so long are professionals and do work as theater artists in their day jobs. And then they come and give their time largely to Theater in the Round just because it's the place they got their start, or just because they love the community that we've created there. They love to be able to work in the arena stage, which is someplace that a lot of those artists don't get to do very often. And so it's a special place that people keep coming back to. And we love to see it, and we love just the absolute high quality of work that gets produced on our stages.
And the Twin Cities is really a special place for legitimate theater as well as the arts. I mean, between the two coasts, there are a lot of theater and cities that offer something, but no place like the Twin Cities, where you have a tremendous choice. Talk about True West.
Yeah, absolutely. True West is one of Sam Shepard's most well-known works. It's a classic American drama. It has a lot of moments of very dark comedy in it, but it is, at its core, it is about family. It's about two brothers who were raised by kind of an absent dad, and it has a lot to say about alcohol abuse and just family dynamics in kind of a difficult relationship. But the conflict comes when one of the brothers is writing a script and pitching it to a producer, and then the other one kind of inserts himself into that meeting and says, "Oh, I could do a better job than that," and then the producer listens to him. So it kind of creates this lovely tension and a lot of really humorous moments in a really dark tale.
And finally, and I don't know how you're going to do it in this season, Sherwood, The Adventures of Robin Hood, and how you are going to get Sherwood Forest onto that stage with the number of characters and the sheriff and Robin Hood and his lady fair and Little John, and I have no idea how you're going to accomplish that.
It is a very large production, and it will have a large cast, but the adaptation we're using is pared down to use a lot of doubling, so there's minor characters that might be played by one actor in different scenes. And I am really excited about the creation of Sherwood Forest in our space. The set designer for that, Sadie Ward, she's been a veteran set designer around the cities and at Theater in the Round, and she has some fabulous ideas for making a full a full forest. She's really interested in sustainable theater making, so she has ideas about how to use recycled products or reusing things to create a really immersive forest inside our space. I'm very excited.
I am really fascinated and looking forward to seeing that, because that's going to be quite something. We should mention True West is running from April 21 next year to May 14, and then at the end of the season, running from June 9th to July 2nd, is Robin Hood. And you have even tried musicals on occasion, and I've seen some of them, which is incredible in and of itself. You have to see theater in around to appreciate what people work with, the space, and how it's utilized. And the only thing I can do is urge people to really avail themselves of this great opportunity. There's also parking across the street. It's paid parking, but it's inexpensive parking. And one day soon, I hope that they will pave that lot. But other than that, we have several minutes left. So we talked about the wealth of talent in the Twin Cities. The costuming, which if you don't have it, you make it up. Do you rent costumes for Halloween, by the way?
Not for just Halloween. We don't quite have the staff capacity to handle the amount of people who would want to do that, but we do rent out costumes for other theater productions and for special events and things like that, with our large stock, as you mentioned, of costumes.
Yeah, because I know you have a tremendous amount of costumes there. In the little bit of time we have left, Carrie, would you like to add anything?
As you mentioned, this is an intense show that really just pulls the audience into it. And Shanley liked to say that this last act of this production happened in the car on the way home, because it's something that you don't have any final words, you don't have any, there's a lot of ambiguity left at the end. So that doubt opens you up to lots of discussion once the show is done.
And Larissa, final thoughts?
Yeah, just to add on to that, one thing that we're offering because of the way this show is we are having an audience talk back on October 9th after the show. Is that right? Yes, the Sunday, after the Sunday. So people can stay and talk. We're also offering private groups to be able to stay and have a facilitated discussion in this space afterwards, a club, a theater club, a book club. If they want to have that third act in our space, we are offering that. If folks want to schedule that, they can contact me or they can find our contact on our website.
Well, I want to thank you both, Larissa Nederland and Carrie Steinbach. Theater and Around, once again, 612-333-3010. I might also add that tickets are very inexpensive, and they certainly are affordable by all. So I urge people, participate, and you will have a wonderful theater season. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.